You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking New Zealand v Sri Lanka and England v Bangladesh. And if we have time and we don't bump it into part 3, also the Women's Premier League. I was going to introduce myself as Jack Hope, but you know that if you've been listening to the podcast. But I am Jack Hope, and I'm joined by Ross and Dan. They're still here as well. Ross, last night for us, or yesterday evening, or probably potentially somewhere in the morning, depending on where you are in the world, time zones, New Zealand pulled off a famous victory off the back of their last famous victory. Kane Williamson sprinting down the wicket to run a bye, diving, making it in by such a fine margin that most of the Sri Lankan team celebrated the tie or the draw or whatever they were celebrating, only for it to be revealed by the third umpire that Williamson had made it and they had won, the Kiwis, that is. Pretty dramatic scenes, wasn't it?
Yeah, what is with the New Zealanders and finishes like this? Like, is it back-to-back Test matches? There was kind of question marks that I think we raised around quite a lot of their team coming to the end of what we think is their kind of golden generation of this, and that they've pulled 2 fantastic wins out of the bag. This one very much a rain-affected victory where they've chased down what is a reasonable target, I think, on a final day against a pretty handy, let's be fair, Sri Lankan team. Now, I think Sri Lanka have done very well. Angelo Matthews is still going at 75 years old and hitting big runs. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be taken from that. Apparently, Neil Wagner has got a bulging disc in his back and had a kind of a torn hamstring, and he was the one who kind of was diving at the other end and made it through. So the real fight in that team still exists, and the perennial thorn in England's side, Daryl Mitchell, continues to contribute in a really significant way for them. Great victory for them, and it ruins Sri Lanka's hopes of making that World Test Championship final and secures India's, much to the delight of thousands of our fans.
It was a pretty phenomenal chase, wasn't it, by the Kiwis, Dan? Is that back-to-back tests with a ton for Kane Williamson, defying his elbow injury, defying the claims of people in the IPL that he's past it, and defying Ross, who said he was too old during the England series. Is this like a raging against the dying of the light, do you think, for Williamson, or is this a return to his imperious best?
Full disclosure, I couldn't see any of this last day drama at all because yesterday I actually was in hospital. I had a minor operation and I was kind of drugged up on some drugs you definitely shouldn't try at home. So I was in bed early doors to step right through. But I mean, we talk about Kane Williamson. Obviously, he's been like this talisman for New Zealand over such a long period of time. But I don't think necessarily that because he scored an unbeaten ton in the second innings to get them the win against Sri Lanka in this test. Second consecutive test, I think, for second close proximity test at least, where New Zealand have won in such dramatic fashion. I don't think it really has any bearing on how successful I expect him to be in the IPL at all. Completely different skill set required, and for me, Kane Williamson in Test cricket, all over that. Kane Williamson in T20 at a high standard, not so sure right now. This version of him.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. I mean, I think if he can rattle off a few more tons in Test cricket, though, really cement his legacy, I'd quite like that. I think he's sort of proved enough, and I thought it was just sort of great image, as you say, Ross, 2 proper war horses of that great Australian. They wouldn't like that. that great Kiwi side together at the end with Neil Wagner. Didn't face a ball, about 5 injuries, diving to make his ground at one end. I thought it was an amazing piece of fielding from the bowler. Was it Fernando to turn, throw, and hit the stumps? Like, pretty unlucky, not to get the run out. I did think the only thing about it that I thought from a Sri Lanka point of view, it was kind of weird that they seemed to have been taken by surprise. That a team who were literally free rolling off the last ball, like 100% were going to run because like losing a wicket didn't matter, took on the run. And Dick Weller shied at the stumps. I thought probably at the wrong end. Like, I think if he just lobbed it, they didn't have what they should have done was got together and been like, if he misses it mid off, run to the stumps at the bowler's end because we're going to throw it there and we're going to get the easy run out instead of shying at the stumps at both ends. And not really screwing it up, but
Yeah, they could have had a
completely
completely different field as well, right? If you look at the field, there are people close in, but actually there's people out on the boundaries. Like, why? Bring them in.
It was a bit odd. And actually, the ball before was definitely a wide. It went about a yard over Williamson's head. And the umpire was just like,
Well, that's
no
karma, isn't
way.
it? That's karma. That happened in the England game.
There's no way I'm hiding that one. Pretty good. Test cricket's back. I mean, obviously, we had a few questions in about this on Twitter about, is this the return of Test cricket? Every time that happens, someone says, oh, is this Test cricket back? And fundamentally, it's probably why it won't ever really go away, because it can produce, traumatic moments. As
5 days of complete boredom as
absolutely, well. Yeah. As sands shift and people are slightly less tolerant of that, we might not see as much, but I think we'll still see. Some.
You've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? You've got to sit through some of those shit things to actually then enjoy the highs.
I always think the joy of Test cricket is that if it's really boring, you can just go and do something else. Like it's
mow the lawn or something.
Yeah, it's not. Sometimes the irritating thing about T20 cricket is that it can change so quickly that you kind of have to watch it until way after the point at which the outcome has sort of become clear. Now, it's on a much smaller scale, right? So we're talking, you're watching half an hour of a dead game instead of days. But in a Test match, I mean, like, I don't know why anybody would have watched the cricket this morning, the Australians batting. Like Smith going at 29 runs per 100 balls, or Labuschagne rather. It was like, what is wrong with you? If you
it's true watching that 20, though. I mean, like, it can change like that. I mean,
it's the Twatia factor, isn't it? That's what we should call it.
Well, yeah. I think last week I saw that there was a win predictor that gave a team 0% chance and they won.
This is all you need to know about the fucking win predictor, doesn't it?
That was the PSL. We didn't say we would do the PSL, but we should briefly talk about the PSL. We've done that. I have, we've got a little bit to say about Bangladesh, but maybe not that much. What the hell's going on in the PSL?
So basically, I think what happened was that they've just been reading like 5 years of criticism from me that their batters don't bat quickly enough. Like, no, we're going to sort this out. We'll have an absolute road with 50-metre boundaries. We'll say, yeah, look at those strike rates. Honestly, yeah, gone to Rawalpindi and like, I reckon 215, 220 is probably par batting first. Insane. And then in their infinite wisdom, in a must win game, needing to qualify and win big, needing to qualify as well, Quetta Gladiators decided to chase when the only chance of winning big was just put a massive score on and try and like somehow put score pressure on the opposition. Some weird tactics in that league, some weird selections, some weird recruitment. Not sure they've all got the grips with matchup planning and stuff like that really somewhat. But yeah, been fantastic to watch. Apart from the last game, was it like, I don't know, 260 against 250 or something like that? That was just a bit too much. I do like a high score, but that's a bit too much. Give me a 205 versus 205 or something like that. I'm all like that. But
I was watching one of the games, the Baba games, where he got loads of runs and they did win. And I think they sent out, is it Tom Kohler-Cappenwell who's playing for them? They sent him out to do the post-match interview, and whoever was on the commentary was like, "Oh, we're going to go and speak to Tom Kohler-Cappenwell now because Babar Azam is feeling a little bit unwell." And it was like, no, he's not. He's just embarrassed that his team have coughed up two absolutely humongous scores in back-to-back must-win matches.
It's worth noting as well that, I mean, I haven't got stats on this, but I'll be amazed if it wasn't true. I think Peshawar qualified and they've conceded about 25% boundaries, which I mean, if there's a team that's qualified in a T20 league conceding more than 25% boundaries, I'd love to see it. But I don't think it would have ever happened before, and I can't see it happening again for a long time either.
Yeah, they're on to the playoffs. It's actually, if you're not watching it is so worth tuning in because it is ridiculous. Like,
but that's the best thing about Pakistan cricket in general, though. They are the lottery team, and why are we surprised that the same people who organise it are? Yeah, it's a lottery tournament. It's brilliant.
They were about 20 minutes from moving the tournament to the United States, weren't they? So I guess this is what you get,
and that's what happens, right? Are we gonna go to Florida? Heads or tails? Which one do you want to go?
No, we're gonna go to Rawalpindi, play on a tennis court.
Well, I did have a question though. Shaheen Shah Afridi, and how he's getting on. So I saw he bumped himself up the order, as all good captains should do. And hit a 50. So it's just like, fuck everybody else. I'm doing
better than
it.
Hussein Talat in that innings. I reckon by the time Shaheen was out, he's better than Hussein Talat.
Yeah, and tell you what though, the kit he's wearing for his team is
it's so good.
It's a pretty special kit.
We set up a shop that sells Lahore calendars kit.
Yeah, it's a top kit. Right, England v Bangladesh. They played some T20s. I think there's one more to play tomorrow.
Yeah, they're 2-0 down. Yep.
England are picking. They might as well pick like me. Like, what's the? I don't really understand what their plan is. I don't think they're really I'm not sure they really want to be there. What are your thoughts, Ross?
So pretty much what has happened is that England decided not to pick many batsmen, right? So they just decided we're going to play all-rounders. We've got people in the PSL. We've got people who have just played Test cricket. And yeah, they were just like, we're going to try some stuff out. Like, it's not win or lose really in Bangladesh playing T20 cricket. We don't particularly care. We want to put some people under pressure, is what Joss Butler said, and try a few different things out, which is, I think, it's a good bit of bluff. I think if I was being asked that question, I would also bullshit and use those reasons, but it just screams of poor planning for me on this front. And I think England, as much as they can sit there and get away sometimes with losing, and sometimes we don't really care because some of them are glorified friendlies, right? But on this occasion, I think they've let themselves down a little bit, and then the justification on some of the decision making that they've had, it was really quite poor actually watching it on the weekend. I'm not sure what you think, Dan.
Well, I think I'll go even harder than that. I mean, as you say, poor planning doesn't even scratch the surface, really. You're looking at all the excuses that the Butler's given for the reason why they didn't call up replacements for Will Jacks or Tom Abel, and just smacks of groupthink, flawed groupthink that just everyone's just decided that's the excuse and we're going to stick to it. And it's to be honest with you, I think it's absolute shambles. Look. Bangladesh away is a lot trickier than Bangladesh at home. I think we've seen Australia struggle in Bangladesh recently in T20 internationals. But England have got so many good T20 players. There's players who won't even get drafted. There's batters who won't even get drafted the 100 draft next week, who are, my model will tell me, is better than some of the Bangladesh batters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so why don't you just pick one? Just, I don't know, just pull a random name out of guys got high boundary percentage in domestic cricket in England and give them a chance. And I think this is half the problem, really, is that they're so fixated on this core group of players that they don't actually really want to give someone else a chance. Because if, like, I don't know, some random blast guy comes and gets spanked 70 or 40 balls, and suddenly they've got like this really awkward decision that they've got to make because they realise actually he's much better than everyone else thought. And to me, it's just and we've seen this in T20 leagues over the winter. The fantastic thing about the 100 is giving players so much exposure to go, and the amount of English players who played in franchise leagues over the winter is incredible. So someone like Adam Rossington, for example, he's been a blast stalwart for a number of years, always had a pretty high boundary percentage, high strike rate, and he's gone out and he's done well in overseas franchise leagues. So it shows you how much depth of talent there is in the blast and in the 100. So just pick a guy, just pick two of them and have them in your team. But it's almost like I say, they don't want to find these players because we've got enough already, and we've got our core group and stuff. And it's one, it's unprofessional, and two, it's just not fair on the player pool.
Yeah, I think I echo those sentiments, Dan. And I think that there's always that bit that there's nothing too bad about being too well prepared. And actually, they're like some of the players. Who knows if we get a couple of injuries or whatever happens? Like, people are retiring soon, etc. Like, you should be giving people new opportunities, right? And the only way you end up with finding Harry Brooks in the side is by taking a bit of a gamble when you do have a spare space. And I think, playing Chris Jordan as a batsman in a T20 isn't the way to be going.
Getting him in against spin. I mean, like, why would you do that? Have you not? No one's seen his stats against spin. Like, and then you bat Ray at number 9, and Ray would be a better player of spin than Chris Jordan. But is that a seniority thing? I don't know. It's honestly, it just blows my mind sometimes about the silly decisions that they make, and some stuff which is clearly not positive expectation or optimal planning at all.
Yeah.
But I think
on that point, Dan. On that point, so what I found when I was watching the game yesterday, I thought when they give Chris Jordan the 19th over, I thought it was a cop out, a complete and utter cop out. I don't understand the decision making behind it. And then Rian Ahmed's made his debut, and it's just like, right, do you want to put some real pressure on someone? Do that. If you're really testing things out, what are you learning from Chris Jordan bowling that 19th over? They can't do it. Like,
because they don't want to give him like a thanks for coming or something like that. I don't know what it is, but look, this is the whole point as well. When you're planning for a series or you're planning for a tournament, you have to work out, for role planning, who's going to be doing what in your squad, who complements each other, who a bowler who covers what roles. There's no planning. If you've got Chris Jordan bowling 5 balls in a T20 match, there's no planning.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no planning. So for me, it just blows my mind. And I've said this for so long, and I still firmly believe it, is that England in T20, they do well despite their planning. They've got such good players. They've got, honestly, dozens and dozens of good players in England in T20. But, so, like they can pick players like this or do these dubious strategies. And most of the time they get away with it because their players are so bloody good. Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. And we've seen it a few times recently as well.
Yeah. Chris Woakes bowling 1 over and Jordan bowling 5 balls. Not good.
It's just weird.
We're going to wrap up part 2, and we're going to come back with WPL and the impact of the super sub rule. Impact of the impact sub. That's going to be good, isn't it?